The following opinions are solely those of BoatTEST.com and its test captain.
Hi, I'm Steve for BoatTEST.com, and today we're going to be giving an Italian beauty a trip out on the water and see how she performs. I'm speaking, of course, of the 50 Fly from Absolute, a comfortable cruising yacht with ease of operation that pod drives provide. Let's start by getting her away from the dock and where she belongs, underway. As we prepare to get underway, the first order of business is to activate the bow thruster, a nice feature that complements the IPS pods nicely. Once the lines were free, it was just a matter of giving the thrusters a little push away from the dock and a fingertip to bring us out. Once underway, a twist of the stick brought us around, and with no buttons to push, we just brought the engine controls into gear and it's back to normal driving. As we made our way down the channel, I got a good feel for how responsive the 50 Fly is at low speed, and it was impressive as expected. Now looking aft, there's a sleek-looking radar arch that adds to the good-looking profile, but it's right at eye level, so it's either stand or duck to see traffic behind. But it does afford a lower bridge clearance, so fair trade. I also noticed that she's comfortable to drive with the arm naturally falling to a position that puts the hand right at the engine control binnacle. The Absolute 50 Fly has a length overall of 49 feet 10 inches and a beam of 14 feet 6 inches. With an empty weight of 40,565 pounds, 80% fuel and 2 people on board, we estimated our test weight at 43,014 pounds. With twin 435 horsepower Volvo Penta IPS 600s running at 3,600 RPM, we reached our top speed of 26.7 knots. Best cruise was only slightly lower at 3,400 RPM and 24.7 knots. It was at that speed that the combined 38.4 gallon per hour fuel burn translated into a range of 245 nautical miles while still holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 422 gallon total fuel capacity. We reached planing speed in 8.4 seconds and accelerated to 20 miles per hour in 11. Flat comp conditions on test day may have gotten us good performance numbers, but did nothing about telling us how she rides in chop. However, the errant wake here and there showed no pounding or hull slap, and the spray was kept off the deck during transitions. With her IPS pods, she's slow turning, but that's pretty characteristic of boats with this propulsion. Besides, the guests will appreciate that much more. Of course, one of the biggest takeaways with Absolute is the way they draw crowds and catch eyes, and the 50 Fly was no exception. And clearly we had a hard time getting the crowds to disperse. We went to a different location for docking because we wanted something more challenging, so here was a spot with a narrow entry and a little room just off the beach. And no surprises here, she slipped right in between two finger piers with no effort whatsoever, and that allowed us for fine-tuning her position for tying up. Now once tied up, we can start to look over her operational features.
The two shore cords, one for the air conditioning and one for the main services, are right at the risers to the stairs. They're on cord reels with the electrical switches just above. To the corners of the cockpit, heavy-duty cleats, stainless steel chafing gear with rollers, and warping winches just ahead. And again, this is to both sides. Okay. Underneath the seat in the cockpit, fender storage plus life raft storage. Fully forward, the rail height increases to 34 inches. There's a quick windlass leading out to a stainless steel anchor roller and a polished plow anchor. Cleats are to both sides, and notice how they're on top of the tow rails so we don't have to worry about chocks. To the side, access to the road, remote control for the windlass, and a washdown. The lower helm is nicely laid out in typical Absolute fashion. Starts with a soft touch dash and a carbon fiber panel. There are two 15-inch touchscreens. Vents to both sides give you heat and air conditioning at the helm. And there's a 7-inch Volvo Penta EVC display on the lower portion of the helm, along with rocker switches that include the batteries with the parallel switch, the Volvo Penta ignitions, wiper controls, the quick windlass control. The steering wheel is leather wrapped and it's on a tilt base. More rocker switches over to the side. The horn is right here that I'd like to see stand out a little more in red. Remote control for the searchlight. And there's an alarm system that shows when the crew cabin door is open, fire alarms and bilge alarms, and this is all tied into the 15-inch touchscreen. Joystick for the bow thruster. Rockers for the trim tabs with LED indicators to both sides. The Volvo Penta digital throttles with a whole host of features, and the IPS joystick is way over to the right-hand side. I'd like to see beverage holders somewhere at the helm, but my favorite features are not only the outstanding visibility out these huge windows, but look at this, a side door giving easy access not only to the side deck, but the midship cleat, making it easy to tie this boat up single-handed. The leather seat is double wide, has wraparound sides and a single flip-up bolster. It's also adjustable fore and aft. When sitting in the seat, there's a comfortable footrest. Now let's take a look at the flying bridge. The flying bridge helm is starboard mounted, includes a 16-inch touchscreen display. The Volvo Penta EVC display over on the right-hand side, just below that, is an alarm showing the crew cabin being open, fire alarms, and bilge alarms, and this is all integrated into the touchscreen panel. Over on the left-hand side, the quick windlass control, remote spotlight, and VHF. I like that there's a beverage holder, Fusion stereo with connectivity for your iPod. Rocker switches, horn is separated down below. Wrapped steering wheel is on a tilt base. Ignitions, trim tabs with LED indicators. Over to the right-hand side, the IPS joystick, controls for the bow thruster, and the digital engine controls with a host of optional features. Of course, all of these displays have covers. Where do they get stored? Take a look at this, just up ahead. Here's a convenient compartment. The dual seats have wraparound backrests, diamond pattern stitching, and individual flip-up bolsters. They're also adjustable fore and aft. At the transom, there's access to the crew quarters, leads straight to a wet head. The berth is over on the right-hand side, and there are 3 transom windows providing natural light. The engine room is accessed from a hatch right in the cockpit deck. Let's take a look. Of course, the focal pieces, the Volvo Penta IPS 600 engines at 435 horsepower. They're driving pods that are mounted right behind them, so there's no need for a jack shaft. In the center is the generator. Taking a look around the engine room, starting forward, fuel tanks are to both sides. Working our way to the back corner, the bin for the cord reel. Batteries are easily accessible. All the electrical connections are over to the port hand side and well on the port bulkhead. Hot water heater, the expansion tank just ahead of that, and then the second fuel tank. Fully forward, we have easy access to the fuel filters. All the seacocks are easily accessible. I'd like to see them a little better labeled. Now, as I come back out from the engine room, I can't help but notice the underside of this hatch. It's got a nice finish to it, gasketed all the way around, soundproofing, and 2 stainless struts. Right at the companionway going down below, we have the ship's main electrical panel, and it's nicely laid out with 12240 on top, 24 volt on the bottom, and I also like that there's a small cutout in the door so that we can access the most used buttons, the main battery switches for the services, generator, and bow thruster. To the side decks, fuel fills are right at the beginning, and there's a water drain right next to it that goes right overboard.
Our main takeaway from this test has to be comfort. Comfort in how she feels, comfort in her ergonomics, and comfort in her quiet running and solid construction that affords no annoying rattling or creaking as we cruise. And after spending time on board, I can honestly say that it clearly makes a difference, an absolute difference. And that's my sea trial and performance evaluation of the 50 Fly from Absolute. For BoatTEST.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.